Tonight, Leo gets a tour of the FCC Research Labs, plus some of Patrick's favorite O'Reilly books. And don't lug around your mod tools the hard way. Yoshi will set you straight live from the Tech TV studios in San Francisco. It's the Screensavers.
The Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton. And I'm Roger Tang. Thanks for joining us on the Screensavers.
Kevin and Sarah are out today doing the wedding thing, not to each other. They're watching friends get married. Now, today, the last day of Screensavers goes to Washington Week, and we have a great show lined up for you. Leo goes behind the scenes at the FCC Labs, and we're going to talk with Ren Buchholz of the EFF, not the FCC, about the Pirate Act. We talked about that earlier in the week and how it's going to affect you and how you might want to be fighting it.
And Yoshi, what are you up to on today's show?
Well, you know, I'm all about the tools, Roger, and, you know, I take tools to my friend's house, I mod, I take their stuff apart whether they want it or not, so, well, might as well do it the proper way.
Thank you, Yoshi. Dan, speaking of dorks, what are you up to on the show
Who brings tools to their friend's house?
What are they doing?
You carry a futon to your friend's house.
Okay, fine. Never mind. The phone number is 888-989-7879, Patrick Norton, anyways. And give me an email at thescreensavers@techtv.com. And don't forget, if you have a netcam, you get a free Screensavers t-shirt.
Nice.
Yeah!
It's just so racy. All right.
What a
Kat Schwartz is helping us out today with everybody on vacay. Kat, what's the first news story?
What's going on? Nice to be here with you guys today, Pat.
Thanks, Kat. We appreciate you taking the time.
And Roger.
Okay, I was waiting for that.
My
Like
good
old
buddy.
times.
Yeah, like a week ago.
All right, let's get going here. This story has to do with buffaloes and Spam. It's not what you think, though. The new mystery meat in Spam isn't Buffalo, it's Howard Carmack. Known as the Buffalo Spammer, Carmack was sentenced to up to 7 years of jail on 14 different counts of identity theft and forgery. Carmack was found guilty of stealing numerous internet accounts to send out millions of spam messages. This is not Carmack's first run-in with the law. If you remember, he was charged back in April for forging business records of Atlanta-based internet giant Earthlink. He's a bad boy. Bad.
Yeah. Bad boy's going to jail for at least 3.5 years, up to 7 years, sent out over 850 million spams.
Jeez.
He would claim that there was no people were hurt by this, except for, of course, the identities of the people he stole them from and the people who've been dealing with the spam he's been hashing out. Earthlink, I wish I had the direct quote and we could hear it. There was like one of the Earthlink reps was like...
No, it's kind of funny that he actually pushed his luck that far. I mean, come on. After the first year you get away with it, you're going to keep going. I mean, come on. There's a limit before you're going to get caught.
Well, he was just pushing on all fronts. There was identity theft, there was spamming, there was forging documents with Earthlink.
At least he diversified. I'll give him that.
What do we got for our second story, Kat?
Taiwanese police arrested this computer engineer, Wang Pinyan, for allegedly designing and distributing a virus through a popular hacker's website. I don't know if you guys heard about this. It's the Trojan horse called Peep. And it allowed hackers to steal information and gain control over infected systems. And police began their research after they noticed that hackers had started stealing all this confidential governmental data. And, yeah, that was a dead giveaway. Nice going.
Oops.
You know, if there ever was a reason not to go to a hacker website, I think that's one of them.
Well, it's funny, but didn't he distribute it over the hacker website?
No,
people put it in code. People downloaded the code onto their system.
You know, it's one of those things where people gotta weigh the odds of being a little jerk online and doing stuff like that to be actually being a good citizen online and respecting.
A good netizen.
Netizen. That's true. I totally forgot that word.
It's a scary one.
It's one of those catchphrases I tried not to remember.
That's what you are, Roger.
A good netizen?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Kat.
Sure, guys.
You good netizen, you.
Thank you.
Ben joins us on the Tech TV NetCam Network from Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Hey, Ben.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Ben. How you doing?
Not too bad.
How can we help you today, Ben?
I have a question about graphics cards. I've seen some 128 megabyte graphics cards that are like just as expensive as some 256 meg cards, and I want to know what will give me the best performance for my dollar.
Well, what kind of resolutions are you playing your video games at, Ben?
Right now, not very high because I have a 64 meg integrated.
Let me rephrase this. What kind of monitor do you have, Ben?
17-inch.
You probably don't need a 256 megabyte card right now. I mean, basically, we're talking to Robert Heron over the labs. This is like a classic, latest, greatest 256 megabyte card. You can see the giant heat sink on there.
Heat sinks.
Twin heat sinks, yeah. One of them, it's actually a heat pipe going through to a heat sink. The point being, though, Ben, is you can spend a lot of money on a graphics card that will, it's like putting a giant, engine out of a Cadillac into a Volkswagen Bug. It's a really cool theory. Your computer isn't going to flip over upside down and burn like the Volkswagen Bug would if you put the big giant Cadillac engine in it, but you're going to be wasting a lot of money on a high-end graphics card. If you're planning on upgrading to like a 21-inch monitor, playing at 1600 by 1200 for your video games, and playing the latest Far Cry at the highest resolutions, then a top-of-the-line processor and a top-of-the-line graphics card with 256 megabytes of RAM would be great. But right now, 128 meg is more than enough.
Now, Ben, what did you say the price difference was between the two cards?
Well, they're like, I've heard that some of the chips on the 256 are slower, so they like kind of round out to around the same price.
Yeah, it's actually a kind of a technique a few video card manufacturers have been doing to entice people by increasing, because bigger is always better. So more RAM obviously means a better, more expensive card that you can get at a cheaper price if you sold it at a retail value with a similar card that only has 128 megs of RAM.
I mean, you could look around, right? It's interesting, like Radeon 9550 with 256 megabytes is like $98. What you want to do is go for the best 128 megabyte card you can afford. Do you have a Celeron or a Pentium 4 in your system, Ben?
Well, I'm trying to build a gaming computer on the cheap, and I'm going to put a Pentium 4 in it.
Okay. Are you using? Do you have an AGP slot in that motherboard?
It's going to be AGP8X.
Okay. So let me take this back. Are you buying a new motherboard to go with the Pentium 4 processor, Ben?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to be replacing the motherboard. AGP8X, don't worry about it because we can't see any performance difference between AGP4X and 8X, so don't get too worried about making that work. Yeah, you know what? Spend the money on processor, spend the money on RAM, spend the money on a 128 megabyte card. Don't sweat 256 megabytes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really it's the GPU that you're getting, because oftentimes they'll get a slower GPU, pack it full of RAM because they want to entice people to buy that card. The lure away people from a better performing card that only has 128 megs of RAM.
Yeah.
And also, are you building it like this weekend, or can you wait a month?
Well, it's like over like a couple months.
Okay, I would really wait for those new ATI cards that are coming out. The X800 Pro, I think, is the one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you get the motherboard processor first, you're going to see the immediate benefit because you can do other things besides game, and then you'll get the benefit right there. With the video card, you're going to have to play a game or something along the line where you can't get immediate.
Well,
yeah,
he's a gamer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, get the processor. Wait for the X800, the Radeon X800s to come out and ship. You're going to get a lot more card for your money. That'll hold you a lot longer before you want to upgrade again, Ben. Good question.
Yep.
Very good question. And, of course, Ben, because he called in on Netcam, gets a T-shirt. Oh. So cool. Some other me got hit with a T-shirt. We're just getting started. I got a stack of my favorite O'Reilly books in today's Geek Library. And after the break, Leo gets a tour of the secluded FCC Research and Testing Labs. We're going to tell you all about it when the Screensavers continues. Wrapping up our Screensavers goes to Washington Week with a tour of the FCC's Research and Testing Laboratories in Columbia, Maryland. Now, Leo got a peek inside, and we should definitely take a look.
If this looks like a high-security government facility, maybe that's because it is. Just down the road from the NSA in Maryland, it's the Federal Communications Commission's testing labs. This is far out of town. We're in the country now.
Yeah, we're quite a bit out of Washington, in Columbia, Maryland, where the FCC maintains its engineering lab. And this is our chief engineer, Ed Thomas.
Pleasure to meet you.
I'll tell you a little bit about what we do here.
So why so far out of town?
Well, we do a lot of radio measurements, and we try to find a quiet place.
Yeah. So what kinds of stuff do you do here at the lab?
Basically what we do is the experimental work that supports our rulemakings. We do theoretical work on the computers, and then we verify them here at the labs, and then they find their way into our rules.
So it's not so much a testing lab, it's a research lab, really.
It does research, and it does some testing.
SAR, S-A-R, what's that?
That's specific absorption rate.
So it's
SAR. Yeah.
How much our flesh absorbs the radio frequency from a cell phone, that kind of thing?
SAR is defined in tissues only.
Okay.
Okay, I mean at least for human
Right.
energy absorption.
So you've actually got something that simulates the human body here.
Yes, what we have here is a model of a split head,
Right.
left and right half. If you can get a
There's a cell phone under here.
There's a cell phone underneath there. Actually, it's running, and it's talking back to the base station.
What is this material that you're...
This liquid here has the equivalent electrical properties of a typical person's tissue inside the head.
So it absorbs radiation in the same way that human tissue does.
Right. There are two parameters in there.
Yeah.
The dielectric constant and conductivity.
Right.
One controls the wavelength, how deep the energy can penetrate through. And also conductivity, it determines the amount of absorption.
Do you carry a cell phone? Do you use one?
Sometimes, but like I say, around here, 8 hours a day, I don't get to use
But
them.
you feel safe using it?
Not a problem.
All right.
I don't
That's
see
all
a
I wanted to know.
Right.
All right.
So this is our anechoic chamber, and I thought you'd really be interested in it. This is stuff we used to do outside. Now we have this great sealed chamber. Why don't you go ahead and have a little look in there for me while you're at it?
Okay. Rashmi, don't she... Now tell me about this room that we're in.
This is an exciting facility for us. We just built it. It's called an anechoic chamber. This allows us to do very sensitive testing that FCC gets called upon quite often to determine in terms of interference, RF radiation, and others. What this facility allows us to do is to really do sensitive emission testing in a controlled environment.
You just built it.
It's just built.
This is your new toy.
We've only actually used it for about one week. These tiles will absorb most of the energy from 30 to a couple hundred megahertz, maybe a little higher. Yeah. But when you get up to higher frequencies, the tiles sort of drop off a little bit in their absorbing capability.
So you need a short wavelength.
So you go to these shorter ones.
Yeah.
They'll take us all the way up to 1,000 megahertz.
So this antenna is receiving any RF coming from the device you're testing.
Device, right. We're testing to see that it meets our limits for the amount of energy it's putting out at its fundamental frequency and any harmonics and spurious. We have limits on devices.
So it doesn't interfere with radio broadcasts.
Right, so it doesn't cause interference.
The FCC spends a lot of time and effort working to make sure there's no interference. We work on spectrum management, lots of other things, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Either a device fails or somebody imports something they shouldn't, or rarely somebody decides intentionally they want to cause interference.
Right.
And when that happens, that's when the FCC enforcement people get involved, and that's when we have to actually go out and locate the source of the signal.
This vehicle is used to track interference or illegal signals, pirate radio, interference to public safety.
So what is our target, a rogue transmitter?
Well, let's say the scenario today could be this is a rogue transmitter that's causing interference to a public safety service.
Let's track him down. Let's go get him,
Let's go
Jim.
get him.
All right.
We're getting a bearing down to the left, but the bearing is to the left, and we'd be coming up on a crossroads here, and we'd have to make a decision. Well, we're obviously going to turn this way.
Head towards it, yeah.
And we're going to watch the bearing, and the bearing fortunately rolls around. We made the right turn decision, and it's heading down the road a little.
This is very James Bond, isn't
it? It can be, yeah, sometimes. So, well, you know, maybe we're going to the farmhouse down here.
Fortunately, there it is.
Lo and behold, the bearing has just flipped around on us.
Uh-oh, it got behind us.
It's gone behind us.
So we passed it.
So we must have just passed it on the right. So we're going to take another look back there. And as you watch the bearing indicator, it's tracking around. Let me lay another bearing down. So it shows us a little cross on the map.
Oh, I see. You're adding little...
I'm adding bearing lines on the map. And
as we triangulate in, huh?
As we triangulate in where those line crosses converge is where our target is. So, well, lo and behold, we're going to get one more cross bearing on this thing. And the bearing just flipped over again, so I think we just nailed it right here.
Wow. Hey, where were the FCC? What the heck are you doing with that thing?
This low-frequency transmitter was being sold on an Air Force base. The pilots were actually complaining they were hearing babies crying on the radio.
They came to the FCC?
Right.
You sent out a truck? You actually tracked it down?
We brought the device into the laboratory, and when we turned it on, the FM radio and the TV go off the air.
Watch, the TV's going. That's because the device. That's because the baby monitor.
And the aeronautical frequency band is also being interfered with, along with a lot of other bands.
So what did you do? You obviously take this out of circulation.
We contacted the manufacturer. We asked them to stop manufacturing and correct the problem.
So in this lab, we're doing what? BPL? What's that?
We're doing broadband over power lines, actually using the electrical grid to provide internet access at high speeds.
Interesting.
And as you know, communications over power lines have been around a long time. You remember the old X10.
Yeah.
You probably use this in your bachelor apartment.
Yes, this rotates the bed, that closes the curtains, absolutely.
That's right, but what we're talking about here is really being able to use the electrical system throughout the nation to bring Americans a third broadband access pipe to the home.
This is an access BPL device. It converts internet signals into radio frequency signals that are injected onto a power line. If you imagine this to be an outdoor power line, there are couplers that would clamp around the power line, and these can communicate in two directions then over a power line. But this antenna is picking up radio emissions from this system.
Okay.
And if you look at this display, we're showing the spectrum of those emissions.
I see.
So this yellow curve is the real time, what's happening, what's being seen
So that's the
on this
interference
antenna right
being
now.
generated by this.
Potential interference.
So BPL is designed to protect set frequencies.
It can be designed to protect specific frequencies.
And you can begin to see some of the other potential. You know, I was reading an article recently about, you know, using a single connection for both power and broadband. And a lot of businesses were now able to deploy Wi-Fi equipment using both simultaneously in some way. You can really begin to think about how you reorder the way you think about communications. If it's as ubiquitous as a plug, it really becomes an appliance, an indispensable appliance, which is what we want.
Fascinating stuff. Especially the broadband over power line. I think that's really an exciting technology.
Yeah, it's a real breakthrough. We're looking forward to that.
Hey, Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate the tour. My pleasure.
My pleasure.
All right,
Good
I'll
to
see
see
you guys later.
Thanks for having me here.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
How cool was that? I am so hiding all of my 802.11 antennas. That was amazing. If you missed any of the segments we've been airing this week, be sure to tune in next Tuesday, June 1st, for a special one-hour edition of our whole trip to Washington, D.C. And we got some extra segments you didn't see this week. We're taking inside the FCC labs, the NSA, the National Archives, the Space Shuttle, a whole lot more. We want to thank everyone in D.C. who opened up the doors for us, especially the folks at the FCC who started this whole trip. Thanks again, Chairman Powell. Ladies and gentlemen, still to come, how will the Pirate Act affect you if it's passed? We're going to find out. And up next, I'll be talking about some of my favorite tech books. They're from O'Reilly. Cool company when the screensavers continue.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Some of Patrick's favorite tech books are O'Reilly books. In fact, he's managed to collect so many that he brought a few in for today's installment of the Screensavers Geek Library.
We got a mess of books here.
You know, what's funny is I actually know you, and this is really probably an eighth of what you have.
We love, people always ask us, how do you learn stuff? Where do you get information? One of the places I'd like to go to is O'Reilly. They're an amazing publisher because they're basically geeks first and publishers second. They started out doing consulting. If you check it out, one of the places you go to is the O'Reilly.com website. It's pretty good stuff up there. One of the things they'll almost always do is give you some sample information from the books. They have their writers that are doing additional stuff on there. But the thing is, you probably don't even know it, but you've probably seen some of the books because O'Reilly publishes a ton of stuff. If it's tech, if it's geek, if it's intense, whether it's C#, C, C+, open source, they have a ton of open source. It's amazing. You always recognize them. Traditionally, they have what we call the animal books, and
there is a story behind each animal, isn't there? Or behind the use of the animal clip art on the books.
Yeah, you got to kind of wonder if Windows 98 annoyances is only exceeded by Windows XP annoyances, where you can see the little horrible froglets coming out of the back of that one. Obviously not their favorite operating system. Mac OS 10 for Java geeks. The sleeker and more dangerous an animal is, generally the more they like something.
In a nutshell.
That's an amazing book. I've owned 3 copies of that. The C Pocket reference.
Learning C, I actually agree with that animal. I won't go into it too.
Yeah, Python's a little scary. I've always wondered what was going on with that story. One of the things that's cool, if it's 4 a.m. and you absolutely positively need to figure something out and you can't find it on the boards, you can't find it online, if you think it'll be in a book, somebody check out a Safari bookshelf, and they essentially have all of their books are available online. You pay either a fee per book or a flat rate, and you can basically access all of the books they have published, which is something we
that's
love.
Nice. That's
very
actually
nice. That's a great 4 a.m. solution if you can't find it. Now, Roger, you asked what books I have. It's a little out of control. One of my favorites of all time. building internet firewalls, and of course we've got the ever-popular 802.11 wireless networks.
Which has the bats because, you know, they're blind, but they use wireless technology.
We like that. Plus, Flickinger wrote that one. Flickinger is amazing. He's the guy who actually gave me the idea for, oh, wait, that one's actually by Gas. It's the other one that's by Flickinger. My bad. Sorry, Rob. Missing Manual. These are published by David Pogue. They've got them for Windows XP and Windows XP Pro, which are really good books. David Pogue sat down and basically said, hey, you know what? There's a lot of people who wish the manuals still came in the boxes, and if it wasn't for the Mac OS X Missing Manual that was just showing up there, I probably never would have survived.
I'm going to probably borrow that
some of the Mac transition
after today's show.
We'll make that available. You might even need an updated version of one. A new series of books they've come out with is actually the Hacks books. Mac OS X Hacks is pretty amazing. Again, it's some of the insight and take a look at what's going on in the operating system.
These books have a tool instead of an app.
And we've seen, we like that. We've actually had Rail Dornfest on to talk about Google Hacks, which is some amazing, cool search tips and techniques inside of there. And, of course, we've got Wireless Hacks. That's the one by Rob Flickinger. And if you don't want to spend the big money for the big books or you don't want to go online, what's really cool is the Google Pocket Guides, and they're little tiny books. We like little tiny books. Can't tell from the picture on screen, but it's like 60, 80, 100 pages long, 120 pages long. Amazing collection of information inside of there.
Okay, out of this stack of books, which one do you use the most?
Google Hacks and the Wireless Hacks, and actually the truth is I probably spent more time in like the Windows XP and the missing Mac OS X Missing Manual.
Interesting.
Good stuff by Pogue's Group.
Very interesting.
Amazing information, written by geeks, for geeks. You'll either like the way they're written or you won't. We've always said, like, if you're finding books, go to the bookstore.
Yep.
You know, drag through the entire Barnes & Noble line, see which books you like, and go with them. I'm a big fan of O'Reilly. Ladies and gentlemen, you want the links to the books? Go to O'Reilly.com or check our show notes later on today. Now, Kat's going to help you out with some very helpful information.
I want the little Google book.
The little one.
I need that one. If you haven't heard yet, the Tech TV Digital Digs Roadshow is heading to a town near you. The next stop is Atlanta, Georgia. So come out, meet Jessica Corbin, Adam Sessler, and of course the lovely Morgan Webb at the Lenox Square Mall on Saturday, June 5th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday, June 6th from noon till 5 p.m. Do it! And after the break, Yoshi is going to help you mod on the go with his portable modding kit. It's pretty cool. And after the break, find out when the government is going to start suing people for having too many suspect MP3s on their computers. Roger. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is fighting for you when the screensavers continue.
Welcome back to the Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton. Coming up in this half hour, Yoshi creates the ultimate modding toolkit you can take anywhere you go. Later on, we're going to show you how to mod your GameCube. We got a great guest coming up. Before we get to that, we should show you there's the new G4 Tech TV website is up. If you type in thescreensavers.com, it's not going to take you directly to the Screensavers page. It's going to take you to the G4 Tech TV homepage. If you need to get to the Screensavers, and you will if you want to go to the show notes to find out about anything we had on the show, click on shows. And scroll down there to the screensavers.com down here and click on that Quit Laughing Dave. They can hear you on the microphones, and you'll get to the Screensavers webpage where you can find information from today's show. They're transferring information over. We know a lot of you are having trouble finding stuff from the Tech TV website. They're transferring stuff over as fast as they can, and they're going to make a direct... That's the scariest sound I've ever heard. Was that me or was that you guys? The Screensavers.com will kick into our webpage soon, but for right now, like we just showed you, G4TechTV.com or the Screensavers.com, and you click through to the show, get the information. Now, on Wednesday, we told you about Congress's new bill, or the Senate's new bill entitled Protecting Intellectual Rights Against Theft and Expropriation, the Act of 2004, or the Pirate Act that makes it easier for the government to punish you for sharing files online. So the RIA doesn't have to go after you. The Department of Justice will. That means you and I are paying for it. Joining us from the Electronic Frontier Foundation to shed a little light on this new and exciting bill, activist, I think is a good word, Ren Buchholz. Ren, welcome back to the Screensavers.
Thanks very much.
What is this? I mean, I hear Senate votes, maybe my civics class is a little outdated. I'm getting aged, but I thought it had to go through Congress, then to the Senate, then get its passed. But what is the Pirate Act, and where is it coming from?
Okay, so here's what it does. It basically enlists the government in the same kinds of suits that you've been hearing about for the last year that the recording industry has been filing. It's sitting in the Senate right now. But the weird thing is that it could be up for a vote by the full Senate next week, but it hasn't even had any hearings yet. So normally for a controversial bill like this, you would expect to have some kind of discussion or debate on it, but it seems to have been fast-tracked.
If this passes in the Senate, will it effectively go into law, or does it then have to go back to the House?
It would have to have a piece of companion legislation passed in the House, and then it would have to be signed by the President.
How do you feel about this? It's essentially, this is the, people have a right to copyright. We're not going to argue that, but it seems interesting to offload the RIA's defense of their copyright to the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Orrin Hatch had a great quote. Well, nobody's got the money or the time to do the thousands of lawsuits it'll take to enforce this kind of thing, but it seems like the RIA is doing a pretty good job of it by themselves.
You're absolutely right. They filed over 2,000 in the last year.
They seem to be picking up, $3,000, $4,000, $2,000 to $3,000 on average for each person they nail.
Right, absolutely, and actually they're paying for themselves now. So it's not actually the case that nobody can afford to do this. They can afford to do it, and they're doing it right now. So I think that there's absolutely no need for this kind of bill at this point.
My next statement is coming tongue firmly planted in cheek. This is my sarcasm thing, so I don't get really the nasty stuff in the boards later on. But the DOJ, they don't have much to do. Shouldn't they be pursuing this kind of legislature?
It's actually a good thing that they have something to do in this legislation because they were just kind of sitting around playing Half-Life.
We're both being facetious,
Absolutely.
right? The DOJ is obviously an overburdened government agency as it is. Do they? What's the other than the RIAA getting to offload this work? What is the advantage to American citizens if the DOJ picks up this little gig?
It's something else for them to spend the taxpayers' money on. I mean, really, I'll stop being facetious. There is no good reason for the government to be doing this kind of work.
It's not necessary.
Absolutely. It's already being done by the recording industry itself, and whether or not you agree with the war on file sharing right now, you'd have to pay for it under this bill.
That we don't like. What's kind of scary about this is this one seems to have momentum. Why is this thing moving so quickly?
Part of it is because you mentioned Orrin Hatch. I mean, he's a big proponent of the bill, and so there are a couple of senators who have taken this on as a pet project. And there's lots of bad legislation that gets proposed, but this one actually is moving. It's been marked up in committee, and it may be voted on as early as next week.
Would that qualify as being fast-tracked?
Extremely fast-tracked.
That's one of the great understatements we'll ever have on air. What's going to happen if this gets passed?
If this gets passed, basically you'll see taxpayer dollars and Department of Justice resources diverted to fighting the war on piracy that really aren't necessary. I mean, it also it requires the government to set up a pilot program where they're spending millions of dollars then to enlist prosecutors from up to at least four different states to get in on this. So it's not just they're going to get this new ability to file civil suits. It's actually that they're going to make them start filing those suits.
And of course, it's going to require people and people hours and lawyers and money.
Well, there are lots of other things that the government should be spending its law enforcement resources on.
Interesting thought. How can we, if you are in the audience and you think spending taxpayer dollars on doing something RIA can obviously afford to do itself, how do we fight against something like this?
I'm glad you asked. If you go to action.eff.org, http://action.eff.org, at the very top of the page we've got an alert that says Sync the Pirate Act, and this is a way that you can contact your senators to ask them not to vote for this act if it does go to the floor next week, and basically to register your discontent with this kind of misuse of government resources.
So you can print out the letter, send it. Do you recommend emailing it or mailing it?
If you have the time, printing it out and modifying it actually, taking the time to take the letter and then write something personal on there and then mailing it to your congressman is the most effective way. But if not, we have the option to fax there or to email it from our system.
Do Congress critters appreciate the personal visit? Put it in a box of chocolates or something like that?
Hey, the more personal contact you get with them, the better. Yeah.
Cool. We've got hot and heavy on the Pirate Act, which obviously you guys aren't real hot in. I'm not real hot about this. What else is going on at the EFF?
Well, the interesting thing is that we were talking about how the Pirate Act is in the Senate. There's a similar piece of legislation in the House that doesn't do quite the same thing, but it has the same effect of offloading the war against file sharing onto the government, and that's something called the Piracy Deterrence and Education Act, or the PDEA. So again, while it doesn't actually have anything to do with civil suits, it actually lowers the burden and increases the penalties for government criminal suits against file sharers. So we're talking about jail terms and a lower burden of proof for file sharers.
Interesting thought about the Pirate Act. How much are they expecting? What are the fines they're asking for?
The copyright law was written at a time, and the penalties were written at a time when we're talking about kind of commercial copyright offenders,
large, generally offshore operations making tens of thousands, if not millions of CDs, dollars,
and dollars exactly. And so the fines that we can expect from the enforcement of the Pirate Act are going to be substantial. And especially if the government is going to be taking these prosecutions, we're not going to see the same kind of easy settlements that the RAAA has been accepting.
Interesting. Ren, thank you so much for coming by. Ladies and gentlemen, for a link to the action page, you can write to Congressperson, visit www.eff.org and go to the action pages. Stay where you are. Gamers, you want to mod your GameCube? We're going to give you some ideas with our next caller. And up next, Yoshi takes his tools on the road, modding style. It's all coming up when the Screensavers continue.
About showing your skills to your friends and letting them a helping hand when they need to pimp out the rigs. But having to carry around a bunch of tools and stuff is no fun. So with that in mind, Yoshi actually built a portable mod toolkit case.
Well, yeah, I mean, why? You got like 2 bags with your bits and your Dremel and your, just everything.
A lot of loose parts that you can lose.
One.
Yes.
Just
now, I noticed you use a a metal suitcase.
Yeah,
do you have to use any
I
kind
wanted
of case?
something that was cheap, so I went out into Home Depot and I'm like, okay, I need a metal toolbox, and this looked like a metal toolbox. And it's actually particle board with a little metal foil over it.
Ah, I see. But, ideally you would like to have something that was a little stronger.
Yeah, ideally I'd like to have something a little stronger. Or something like maybe like the Chicago cases. They're actually the totables, but they have like big fold out and tons of space. You could fit everything in those.
All right.
But this is good for like a 10, 15 pounder.
Let's see what you put inside.
Well, got all my tools in here.
Ooh, nice. And looks like a dysfunctional tackle box.
Yes, it does look like a dysfunctional tackle box. We'll start off on the side over here because you'll notice it has an ATX power supply.
Ooh, that's nice.
The case.
Now that's so you can test out equipment.
Yeah, you're testing out fans, drives, or just mods you're going to do, or test out a motherboard for someone. I know this is a good power supply, so I don't have to go swapping power supplies out, anything like that.
Clever idea. Now what's next to that?
I took the power out of it because I wanted the power to not only go to the power supply, but I'm going to be doing some soldering if I'm going to be doing some modding. So I have my soldering iron just hardwired into the case, so it's always on.
And that's pretty cool.
If it's in there. And I decided, why not if I'm running power, add an outlet into the front so I can plug a couple things in.
And this little trip works. So you want to electrocute yourself if you
want to electrocute yourself. And actually, I have it on right now, so you can see. And whoops, well, actually turn it on.
All right. Well, there you go. Cool.
So it works.
Nice.
That can work for your Dremel, for anything really. Of course, you have all your stuff in here, but everyone needs a vise. So you have a nice little fold-out vise there.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. Now it looks kind of flimsy if I'm going to put something weight on it.
You get some weight on there and you start hammering down. It's going to flex a little bit.
A little bit. That's a lot there.
For that, just got a little support band.
Ah, clever. Now. Couldn't you have just tried bolting that piece onto...
I was going to do that, but what happens is this piece, when it's on a hinge, wouldn't clear all my tools in the lid, so I just needed to make it a little modular.
Cool.
Otherwise, I'd have left this permanently attached.
Now, can you give us a little overview of the tools that you included?
Well, it's just, this is like a basic kit. This isn't like the ultimate supreme kit, because that stays at my house. Your basic screwdriver, some Allen wrenches, cutting tools, some dikes, some needle nose pliers, and other kinds of pliers. You never want to leave with just the small wire cutters. You need the big honking ones because you try to cut like heavy gauge wire or bolts, you're going to just destroy those. Drill bits, tape, glue, wire strippers, safety wire pliers, electric screwdriver, earplugs, Dremel, clamps.
Wow. This is kind of cool. Now, if you think about adding...
And of course, lots of fiber discs.
Wow, do you have like a toothbrush and dental floss in there too?
Yeah, that's in the second kit.
Seriously now, how much was this to put together?
Well, of course, not including the tooles, about $25.
$25?
Yeah, the box itself was $19.
That's no Father's Day present.
And I spent like $3 on my power, outlet and couple bucks on a hinge. I had some leftover diamond plate around, so I just cut a little piece out for that.
Now, if there was anything you could do differently, what would you have done?
I would actually have gone out for one of the big Chicago cases, and I was actually thinking it would be kind of fun if I built in a mobile liquid cooling testing station with dry fit hose clamps, so you could just pop in. You have your
ambitious, aren't we?
Everything. Yeah, why not?
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, if you want to learn any more about any of Yoshi's modding, or if you want to get help with it, just visit Yoshi's forums at yoshi.us/forums. Coming up after the break, we'll fill in Brandon on all the GameCube modding techniques after these messages.
Monday show. Yoshi shows you what tools you need. You don't need to help you create a masterpiece. And we're going to show you the place to meet up with other modders for helpful tips and how-tos on modding. Plus, we got the deals for you in the Sunday Tech Ads. install on Mondays. Fine edition of the Screensavers. And might I say, the audience is excited. I think they're all going to stay here this weekend just so they can see the show.
Cool. And Brandon joins us on the phone from Hendersonville, Tennessee. Thanks for joining us, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's going on? What's up, Pat, Raj?
Hey, not much. Doing a show.
How can we help you?
Okay. School ended a couple days ago, and I was looking at my GameCube, and it's really boring and black, and I would like to know how to do something to make it look better.
Okay. So you're talking about modding it.
Yeah.
I smell a painting project coming in the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up a web page. Yoshi's going to talk to you about painting plastic, though.
I think Pat's pulling up Colorware, who does they'll do custom painting if you just want like solid colors of your GameCube, and they'll even do logos if you want a little bit more. But painting is always an option. I'd recommend the Fusion Krylon Fusion paint. Works really good on plastics. You're going to need to get yourself a game bit to take it apart. Do a search online for Nintendo Game Bit. About $5-10. They're really easy to find. You won't be able to find it at your local hardware store, which is unfortunate. But other than that, I mean, you could add little windows into the top. You could put lights in there. There's all kinds of things you could do. It's pretty similar to the Xbox, the PlayStation 2 modding. Just be creative.
Any thoughts about how to like mask it or not melt anything or anything you definitely
well, that's
don't
why
want to
he's going to need the game bit to take it
Right.
apart. You do
Yeah.
not want to paint it together. You're going to ruin it if you paint it with the components in there. I'll put that out there right there. Just don't do it. It'll be destroyed.
Oh,
Now,
man.
is the paint long-lasting, so once he puts it on, he doesn't have to worry about scratching or it rubbing off over time?
As long-lasting as any paint's going to be. That's why I recommended the Fusion, actually, because it works really well for plastics. You don't really have to do too much priming. I still like to sand it just to smooth it down, but you don't have to do 2 primer coats, followed by all your top coats, followed by your clear coats. It works real good. Pretty durable, too.
There we go. Krylon Fusion, I mean, basically you pick that up at a hardware store. The game bit, what do you expect to pay for a game bit?
Between $5 and $10. Depends on what kind. Some of them are just the little clip-in bits, like these style. There would be like a bit that you'd put in your driver, or some of them are just standalone screwdrivers. Depends on which kind you find.
Now, Yoshi, the Colorware, is it Colorware or Colorwave, the folks that paint system? Do they do GameCubes or just Xbox?
They do GameCubes, Xbox, PlayStation 2s, iPods.
Because I can't, their website seems to have
Is it Colorware
disappeared?
PC, I believe.
Okay.
Now, what would be the average price for that?
Bingo.
I think it's like $99.
$99. Wow.
It's actually not that bad.
Yeah,
Nope,
but
not at all.
I mean, so basically, like,
colors.
it's
They'll do logos. They'll do custom matching colors if you want to. I mean, you can send them a chip of, this is the color on my grandfather's 1958 Cadillac. I want it to match this, and they'll do it.
Yeah, we should also point out that Colorware is probably, it is colorwarepc.com. They're probably going to make a much prettier paint job than you're going to do yourself, especially
It'll be
if you're not used to painting.
I have the iPod from them, and it's still barely a scratch on it.
Youch. It's $190. It's $199 for a new
That's
one?
the GameCube painted.
The GameCube painted. So you can't just send them your GameCube?
No.
Okay. Well, Brandon, we give you enough links on that one? We've lost Brandon.
We've
I'm
lost
sorry.
him.
Anyhow.
But, hey, that's a lot of information for anyone to sift through. I mean, really, if you think about it, it's a GameCube.
Don't use non-plastic approved paints. Use the Krylon Fusion, which will go directly on plastic without priming it. You're going to need a game bit screwdriver to take it apart so you don't spray over the lenses or the drive.
The important parts that make the thing work.
Yes. Yeah. Or you can sell yours on eBay and spend $200 to get one from Colorware pre-painted. Now let's check in with Leo for a quick tip. Leo?
There's a problem in Mac OS X. The first major security flaw in OS X, in fact, the first major security flaw in Apple for about 3 or 4 years that can cause a real problem. A bad malicious web page can take over your system and put some random code on it, a Trojan horse, a backdoor, all kinds of stuff. Now, Apple did try to patch this a couple of weeks ago. The patch didn't work, and it's going to be very tough to patch because, frankly, it takes advantage of a feature that a lot of web pages use, the ability to go to another URL through a web page. Fortunately, there is a fix. You should probably install it from the great folks at Unsanity who do those hacksies. Paranoid Android. Once you install Paranoid Android, it'll watch for this particular exploit, and when it sees it, it'll do something about it. Let's try it. This is a sample exploit. I'm going to click on this web page, and it's going to, this web page was actually trying to execute a script on my system. Paranoid Android popped up and said, do you want this page to open Disk Mounter and do what it wants to do? Well, no, I don't. So I'm going to make sure I press cancel. Now, the only bad thing about Paranoid Android is you'll see these warnings on a lot of legitimate pages. For instance, my little weather menu item pulled up Paranoid Android because it was trying to get on the net. It's probably good to install it until Apple figures out a way to fix it. Make sure you run software update regularly. With any luck, by the time you see this, it'll be fixed. But if not, Paranoid Android's the solution. I've got a link on the webpage, thescreensavers.com. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Leo.
All right. Let's check in with Dan for a helpful tip.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Make no mistake, Mozilla is here to stay, and it's definitely giving Internet Explorer a run for its money. Now, to learn more about the open source browser, go to neowin.net to read their exclusive interview with Ben Goodger, the chief developer of Mozilla Firefox, to learn about the feature-rich improvements of the new browser and its destined future. Now, there you are. We're checking our inbox, see what's on your mind right after this.
It's that time. Actually, before it's that time, Yoshi's positive you can actually send in your GameCube or your Xbox to colorwarepc.com to get painted. We're going to see if we can find out the exact pricing on that and get back to you on it next week. Now, Kat?
Yo.
What's in the email inbox?
All right, this one's really gross, okay? This dude's keyboard is all jacked up. There's filthy stuff, gunk, and dirt all over. We need to help him out. He wants to know, how should he clean his keyboard?
Simple way, spend $12 and get a new one.
There you go.
Yeah. Or, I've seen people, don't, take it to the sink and scrub it. Don't run water inside of it. That's bad. But if you, spray, 4 gallons of Fantastic or that orange cleaner or Simple Orange onto, paper
Green?
Towels. Simple Green's another good one. Although it's a little funny.
If it, honestly,
yeah, Yoshi's talking about popping the keys off and vacuum in there.
If it's a very inexpensive keyboard, spend the $12.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to spend 2 days working out your lunch.
Especially if you're taking it, if you can turn it upside down and shake it and stuff comes out for more than 10 seconds.
That's like your keyboard, Patrick.
It's done.
No, that's
actually
just
mine's clean.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm looking for. This dude, he wants to get a gig of RAM soon. Right now, he's got 512, and he wants to know if he should buy one stick of RAM that's a gig, or can he double up with his 512? And how do you go about doing that? What do you suggest?
Easiest thing to do is buy another stick of 512, and it's going to cost you a lot less. A single stick of 1 gig is going to cost you a lot of money. Plus, on some motherboards, it'll actually lower performance.
Yeah, and depending on what kind of motherboard you have, you can actually dual channel, so you might want to look specifically for the type you already have in your system.
Yeah, if it's a dual channel, match the memory you got, use the second channel, you get better performance out of it.
All right.
Do you have another one?
I was wondering if there are any music downloading sites that are going to allow me to pay a monthly fee, and so I can download as much as I want, kind of like, didn't MP3.com used to do that?
Yeah, MP3.com used to have unlimited downloads for $10-20 a month. I used to love that. There's some great music
it was
on
hot,
there.
Right?
Now they've changed it. They now have a limited download. The only people who are doing really huge downloads for not much is all of MP3.com. It's kind of a pay per megabyte download system. They're in Russia. A lot of people think they're great. A lot of people say they have no problems with them, but we're also wondering if maybe it's not one giant credit card scam waiting to happen.
Ooh, ouch.
So, use a dedicated credit card.
What are you using these days?
Use a low limit credit card is the key.
Pat, what are you using these days? How do you get your tunes?
Mostly 99.99% of them I rip off my MP3, my giant CD collection. I own 700 CDs.
Whoa.
And you, Raj, how do you get your music?
Actually, the same way, because I don't like buying MP3s. I like actually having the CD. It's something tangible. Something gets burnt up. I sell my CDs. And I can pawn them when I'm poor.
Okay, right. Looking for an OEM version of Windows XP, and I see that you can get these certificates of authenticity online. Instead, for $60, are these legal? How do you go about doing it?
Yeah, that guy was interesting because he was basically like, there's no CD with it. How legit is this? And it's like, if they're not selling you a CD with it, it tends to be extremely sketchy, and you'll probably get it, and the printing will be a little funny, and there'll be a little ink stamp instead of the whole.
They'll actually probably be printed in 3 different languages.
Yeah. What Rogers is saying is it's a scam. Watch out for that stuff. If it's too cheap, it's probably not legit. Thanks, Kat.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this edition of the Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Roger Chang. Thanks for joining us.
We'd like to thank our guest friend, Pat Schwartz, for stepping up and helping us out. See you next time.
Hey, if you don't like it... Bye.